Hello everyone, this is Scramble from Emotionless Crypto Trading. Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin's price analysis and of course a few things around the news of the space. But before we do that, I'd like to have a quick lesson for you once again here around December and how this month is affecting cryptocurrency space, especially the trading side. Great, so we've got holidays, Christmas, and a month which used to be pretty expensive, which necessitates us to spend more money. Let's put it that way. Good. That means people that are purchasing monthly cryptocurrencies from their savings, probably this time they will not do it because their savings are going into the extra expenses they have to cover. So that's lack of usual purchasing energy that is coming from that group of people. That's one thing to consider. On the other side, what happens with the ones which are in need of money? Probably they are intended to sell their cryptocurrencies because there is a battle right now between your discipline level and your desires on what kind of gifts and what kind of products, goods do you want from the market as holidays and Christmas. I've heard people saying me, especially some of my students telling me that they definitely need to get a car, they need to get a watch, they need to get this, they need to get the other, and they are looking to sell cryptocurrencies to buy all these things. Selling cryptocurrencies right now in December to buy Christmas gifts, holiday gifts, is something I would not do it. It's something I would not suggest, especially if you purchased cryptocurrencies at 10, 15, 20, 30, 50x difference from the current price, especially knowing the fact that the prices are going to touch the all-time high position once again in the future. I'm not worried about that. It's just a question of time, but it's going to happen. So I'm patient enough, I'm young enough, hopefully I'm going to hit that day to see it, and I have nothing to worry about it, right? So I would not do that, and I would not suggest you to try overspend this month from cryptocurrencies to Christmas and holidays. It is difficult probably for some of my audience and for some of you to handle the pressure that is coming on the fact that there is a lot of anxiety around the cryptocurrency environment. And this anxiety is specifically from people which are looking at their portfolios every day and they see how their hard-earned money is crashing down, and it's probably 10, 15 times less than what they put into from their pocket which has been filled up by saving a long period of time or things like this. I can see that happening every other day and every other minute and every other person. I can see that happening because that's the way people usually invested at the time of cryptos. On the other side, there's some humans that made money and now they're losing it all, or they have lost it all. So it's pretty much inappropriate to sell right now, especially to overspend for Christmas and for holiday gifts, which is something I'm trying to help you out at the time I'm making this video in order to raise your discipline level and be cautious on your expenses. Something that's going to pay off in the future. I'll just get a less expensive gift this year, for example, and get something more expensive. That's the question here, if that's the deal, in 2 years or 1 year. We don't have the response when the market is going to be back at all-time high. Because at that time it's a lot easier to cash out and buy something more expensive. It's that the comparison we have to make, right? So keeping this thing inside, we have to understand that this is the month I would definitely assume to consider less expenses than at the time Bitcoin was $25,000, and everyone out there was just cashing out on day-by-day basis to buy a lot of the things. So we have to be very careful on this thing. I'm not really talking specifically on a exact name or case like myself or yourself. I'm talking generally as population, as general subject, in order for us to understand the mentality behind our movements that we would have to apply specifically this month. And of course, there's going to be a lot of the people selling cryptocurrencies at 20x to buy more expensive gifts. There's going to be a lot of people who are not going to buy into the cryptocurrencies because the expenses are higher in December. All right, so that's the case about it. We're going to suffer this month. And I'm going to present you some details. Besides the fact that it's $117 billion market cap, 16 billion volume, and 54%, close to 55 BTC dominance. Altcoins, of course, they're suffering more than BTC does, and that's the truth. This is Bitcoin paired up with a US dollar. Take a look at the time I'm making this video, where we are. Crucial level. We're retesting the support zone of 3,700. This support zone confirmed a lot of the times during this phase, but is no longer giving us credibility in confirming for future timing, as long as we got stuck in the breakout right here at the top. We got stuck, so we're not able to break out of the $4,300 resistance line, which is putting a lot of the pressure, and it created a structure which looks something like this. Right, so what happens? This is a rectangle that looks like this. You have entered here, which is this one. Right, you have entered in that corner, and you're about to get out here. You got a lot of the movements here, but you break out below, as it seems like for now. I would love if the market comes back and it breaks out of the downtrending triangle resistance line, which is this green body right here. This green body is confirming exactly like it would be handcrafted. Take a look at that, how nicely. This is a very good position here for shorting down the way, because you have expected, you've already had the line drawn. If you have done market analysis and price analysis, you have already worked on this. And here you're entering for a short at this position. You're making a lot of the money, and if it breaks below, you're going to make a bunch of money. This is another position where you can short a market once again, because you're touching the resistance line of the downtrending channel, and it's important to be careful that the lines are reacting exactly where they should. And the reason I'm telling you this is because traders are using price analysis, which is a technical data, in order to complete their movements, to complete their actions of entry and exit. That's what traders are using. So that's what we have to use in order to find out the language of the market. This is the language of the market, so if we know it, if we know how to draw the lines, then it's going to make sense. And it's going to be a familiar subject for us. Great. Good. So this is the big deal around this movement right here in the next hours. I definitely want to see something going on, but that means we need big volume. Big volume right there. That's the movement I need. Big volume. And I don't care where this thing is going to go, because I have both possibilities, to go long or to go short. So I can make money either way. Great. And the same thing applies for you. Great. What we have done is we have laid down the information for the current stage of the market, that we're in a critical situation at $3,700 with 4 lows, which are classified lower, and of course the selling energy that is building up with all these technical details directed towards to that type of energy. Great. Good. Let's take a look what happens if we break below this thing, which is of course having a high probability. The next level that we're going to talk about is $3,000 support line. It did reacted as a resistance in the previous chart, and it did reacted nicely as a support previously. That was in September 2017. Great. So that's something like 20% price difference from now until $3,000, which is insane. But this thing can be acquired in 2 days for the ones shorting. For you, I'm talking, you can acquire such a great profits. 20%. What happens below that is a difficult story, because the next support level is located at $1,800 up to $2,000. Of course, we have the psychological barrier, 2,500, but that thing is not going to say too much if the environment and snowball effect with all the details that relates to December are just, coming up together, and they create a large selling energy, which can be turned back and recovered and break out of it by the whales. 80% of the Ethereum whales addresses have gained, I've been seeing some statistics, have gained a huge percentage of the Ethereum quantity on the market. Right? So 80% of the whales addresses, we're talking specifically of this group, whales, have gained a lot of Ethereum as quantity in their portfolio during the last weeks. And why do you think is that? Because they're accumulating Ethereums instead of selling. So if you have sold your Ethereums, please ask yourself the question, why the whales, which are having, professional traders employed and researchers that are doing this 24 out of 24, have done the opposite than you have done? What's the matter? What's the point? And what's the discussion? What's the idea behind that movement? Why are they doing it that way? Do you think whales are looking to minimize their portfolios? The whales are looking to get rid of their money? That's why they're accumulating Ethereum, because it's gonna die? Because one of the gurus are gonna come out in about a week when BTC crashes towards, if that's so, and will say BTC is down to zero in a few weeks? Do you think that's why the whales are accumulating? No. I'm sorry, but I had to tell you, no, not at all. Behind these accounts, there's institutions that are oriented in a financial industry. It's not a game for the small fishes, or for the ones which are just speculating here or there for some pennies on the dollar. Compared to what whales are doing, it's all about pennies on the dollar, right? But however, it is not a game as a lot of these gurus are saying it when the market is crashing, because they want it even cheaper, right? Everyone has a reason behind any conversation, behind any idea, behind any action. There is a reason behind it. Think about a reason. Why would he or she say that? What is the purpose of saying that kind of thing? Or what is the purpose of doing that kind of action? These are the things you have to ask yourself, instead of wondering what you should do, because probably you will act based on your emotions. So you better leave that aside and listen to the ones which are doing this thing professionally. Listen to what they're doing, accumulating or selling. Right? So if it's time to accumulate, then it's time for us to save money in the offline world and buy in the online world. Where? Crypto. Why? Because maybe in 2 years, and I'm going to underline this, maybe in 2 years, maybe underlined. It might be a year, it might be 3. I'm not here for 3 years. I'm here to live my life. Who cares if it's 1 month or another 50 years or 100 years, because this is subject which I'm not really having control over it. So it's, you know, not a subject to be scared about in order to make these shortcut movements like I definitely need to make money today. No, that's not possible with cryptos in a matter of, you know, hit and run. Only if you're winning the lottery, which is 0.00001% who does that, right? So don't try to be there, because it's not worth your time for sure. So don't try to hit and run and go away. Buy for long term and do active trading, because the active trading is the one that is keeping the losses and accumulating the profits, or at least it's keeping you at the same levels. Very simple. Hopefully this type of videos are helping you out to get a better education of the technical data. Second thing, get a better education of your discipline level. This is something you have to master, and to get a nice expertise level, which is something that can be developed by anyone, as long as you know what's your name and from where are you from. You can develop your skills. Don't be afraid about that. Do you know what's left and what needs to be put into? Is the fact that you gotta push work into. Push the work. If there is no work, there's no result. If there is work, there is result. And there may be a good result. Nobody guarantees. The work is not guarantee you a good result. It's going to guarantee a result. But you got to make the type of the work which creates the type of a good result. If you do this, the results will be great. Great. So pretty much all about this video. You know, I don't like to make videos 30 minutes or 50 minutes long. The world's second largest stock exchange, Nasdaq, confirms plans to launch Bitcoin futures. Probably I've said this even in my last video, but this is what the internet and the news and the media talks about it continuously every single moment these days. Great. Bill Gates is coming back telling us digital currency will help the poor, especially referring to Africa in this article. Now, of course it does. I do agree with that, but I believe besides that, something more important than Africa needs is institutions producing wealth, producing education, producing wealth, producing stability, and producing culture. This is what Africa needs. Now, inside those large categories, there's going to be the digital currency somewhere, like a little fish, which is going to help the poor. Yes, but first, they should work on producing institutions, because that is what is producing the society. And it's just, drawing it the way it is, meant to be. Great. Denmark has over 1,500 restaurants that accept Bitcoin. Great stuff. We see how the adoption is pushing towards. We're going to see more. And, I like the fact that I've been using Bitcoins here or there to pay things in the day-by-day life. And it works nicely. It's a good feeling, especially if you enjoy to see this type of digital money put into real life and put into real use, not only digitally, because this way you don't have any sort of connection with this digital thing. So it's great and a nice feeling to put this digital stuff that you cannot touch into the real world, something that can be touched after using the digital currency. Great. So that's pretty much all about this video, guys. Feel free to check the links in the description area. We've got coaching, one-on-one coaching with me for trading, leverage from A to Z, no more trading, whatever. We teach there Feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment your idea into the zone of comments right here on YouTube, everywhere. Great. Talk to you soon, guys. Have a nice month. And stop looking at your portfolio this month. If you don't do active trading, leave it on side, relax, read, get educated, spend quality time with your family, with your friends, with everyone.